I want to thank everybody for joining us for this installment of exploring the paperless office and going paperless in construction and going paperless in general for that matter. This is our contact information. You can view this showing at our website, www.eriskcorp.com, and you can also explore the paperless office further and kind of take a tour through some of the screenshots on a departmental level. As we jump through here, we're going to talk a little bit about who eRisk Consulting is. Our company is we help you go paperless. We take you to go paperless, and we use the software applications from paperless environments in order to do that. What we're going to show you today is a software application that you'll agree is very nimble. It can be molded to fit your processes and not dictate your company's processes in the future. Our team of construction veterans set out to help you rewrite policies and procedures that are going to make sure that your company is sustainable in the future. We also give a money-back guarantee on the services, the time that we spend with you, and also the applications that we deliver at your office. All of our applications are also developed from inside the desk, from the desk of the end user. So very specific. We understand how to go paperless. We do this every day, and we guarantee that the scary step of going paperless, we're definitely a partner along the way. Obviously, just to kind of step in here, lean and mean is what we kind of coined the phrase. We already are lean, where we've had to reduce our staff and increase efficiency. The economy has forced us to do more with less. So now our standpoint is that we want to start getting mean about it. We want to start leveraging some of these efficiencies to do business better, faster, and smarter in the future. We want to negotiate earlier pay vendor discounts and fix overhead while we grow exponentially, hopefully, in the future. So obviously, lean and mean is leveraging these technologies and the current market climate to really solidify our growth as a company in the future. So just a couple of things. We're going to talk about going paperless, and what really that means today is that we first have to realize that 70% of our corporate information is in an electronic form. So although we may be hearing this presentation and want to hear about what I should do about the stack of paper on my desk or the stack of paper in my folder bin, the reality of it is it's a very small part of the problem. The 70% in electronic form is really the issue, and we haven't done a good enough job managing that with the Windows folder system. We may be attaching things in other applications like our ERP system or our project management system. We'd be hosting some of this stuff in the cloud, but the reality of it is that it's all over the place, and we don't have proactive policies or a proactive tool in place to be able to manage this. And just some of the things that we hear inside of the industry is that, my guys are doing their own thing with email. There's no proactive policy in regards to email management, because a good email management policy has everybody accountable about what they're sending through the email system, and they're keeping the stuff that they want and referencing that to a job number or an employee or whatever the case may be. And they're getting rid of the things that they don't need, and that's proactive. Reactive is storing everything and just keeping everything just in case somebody leaves the company. At least I could get to his 12-gig mailbox. Well, that doesn't really do a lot of good when I've got to go back behind and find some of that stuff, or maybe a plaintiff attorney has to come in and e-discover. So going paperless is a big deal. A lot of people think if it isn't on paper, it didn't happen, or they think that their clauses protect themselves, like a blue ink clause. Any changes must be made in blue ink, or my superintendents don't have the authority to affect a contract. The reality of the world that we live in today is that conduct is everything, and electronic email conduct is just like actual conduct. So what we see this topic of going paperless in your company is it's not just dealing with the paper. It's a major component to it, but it's really getting the paper along with the electronic files and documents in one location. And a good test to kind of see if you're at eRisk is to know, if I were to go into litigation tomorrow and I had to go pull all my records for a particular job, how many places would I have to go to find all that information? And you can see the list below. It's all over the place today, so we really want to have a central archiving system, whether it's post-mortem after the jobs or projects are finished, or at the end of the week or the end of the day. We're at least putting this stuff into the system on a daily basis or weekly or monthly basis, but we're getting it into the central filing cabinet so we can have instant access to that information if we ever need to. So just different things to start talking about going paperless. The Windows folder system is a great way to start. We've already made the investment. The issues in it, though, and if you've started scanning things in, is that it's very unstructured. We can call things whatever and put them whatever. So to not have a tool in place, it can be very, very difficult trying to write corporate policy on the Windows folder structure because we've got to continually monitor that. It takes a lot of staff to monitor that, and it doesn't really have any type of retention base. We may want to keep things, but then we may want to push them over to archiving after a couple of years, and then after that, get it out of the system. That's a proactive management process, but we don't have that in the Windows folder system. The other side of the coin is attachment functionality, where we may be attaching records inside the ERP system, the project management system, the sales CRM system. The reality of that is that those systems are built to attach single records at single points in the system. The reality that we live in construction especially is that we have so much paper coming in, and each document represents its own life cycle, its own life work process, like a receiver ticket or a purchase order or a subcontract. They're all individual documents that need to follow their own work process and have their own lifespan inside of the office. So an attachment feature, although it's convenient while we're looking things up into the system, the reality of getting that into the system is a fiasco, especially if we ever move the application. We change applications, change directions. We have major issues when we start talking about attachment functionality, especially in the cloud. So those are some of the things that we try to hedge against to be an independent but integrated content management system, and that's what we are, an index-based solution that we reduce data entry by integrating and backfilling data values for searching, and being independent from applications. It gives you the freedom to pick and choose the applications your company wants to use that's going to best drive and fit the needs of the departments inside of your company, but we can integrate them and all use the same filing method. So that's kind of those are some of the biggest reasons, the biggest ways to go paperless, and that's kind of how we generally step through that process. Defining paperless before we jump into software: electronic duplication and filing of paper records. It's dealing with the paper that comes into the office and dealing with it in high volumes. Electronic filing and management of electronic records, the Word and Excel documents, putting those along with that paper in one location. Electronic routing of documents and files, and we'll talk on that, but paperless environments has built-in enterprise workflow automation, and we'll talk a little bit about that, but that's really the dividing line between ourselves and our competitors on the market. Electronic distribution of paper and electronic records. When I have a T&M billing or a sales tax audit, or I be discovered in litigation, being able to distribute all of my paper records at one pass in a matter of seconds, as opposed to having to go to all those different locations to find that information. So this is really what it means to go paperless, but the biggest reason that we need to kind of get through our heads is that paperless does not mean destroying the paper. It just means getting a handle on our content and doing things in paper form and electronic form, because the electronics will suffice the law and the legal aspect, and it's so much more efficient, just like we see in email. Just the problem is there's no accountability in these systems like the Windows folder system or email. So that's really where we're building as a solutions provider. So I'm going to kick out of here on the PowerPoint side, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the software. This is our application right here, pVault, and this is our brand new pVault 5. And just to kind of show you what pVault is that underneath the hood, like if I were going to store a document, and obviously I can scan this directly in from the scanner. If I wanted to create a batch, I could bring it in from a scanner or from a place on the network place location on the file, and I can search the documents that I may want to drag into the system. And then be able to locate those and bring them in. Let's just say this for example. I can give it a description, maybe add some notes. I could assign them to different users if I want to. I could restrict access if it's maybe the owner's Amex bill or HR-sensitive information. I can hit Next and Finish. I can delete them off the hard drive to save some space if this was maybe something scanned to the network. And then from this point on, I can print a batch cover sheet. This is what allows me to get rid of filing, because I may have scanned all this into the network, and then I've got all the originals in hand. I print out a batch cover sheet and wrap it to the originals, and then I can throw it in the banker's box. Each original in each electronic version in my system got got marked with a unique batch ID number, and then that allows me to be able to go and reference that. Like, let's say it's in batch 123, I go find Banker's Box 100 through 150, and there's the original. So this is the first time I touched the piece of paper, and the last time I touched the piece of paper, and this is really where the efficiencies come in. And then once I've got these documents on the screen, I quality control them, I can flip through them, I can process them if I know where they need to go. But getting things into the system in paper form is as simple as a scan directly in or a scan to a place on the network and bring those documents in. Now, one of the unique things about our system is its usability with all other documents. Like, let's just say, for example, I've got this document over here that I just wanted to drag in to the system, and I want to store it. And let's just say it's maybe a request. When I come through here and I want to go and store it, I can select from the document type that it is, and these are all customizable. So it's a vacation request, and I want to tag it to me, the employee, because I want to go on vacation this Friday. So I tag it to myself. It backfills my Social Security, first, middle, and last name. This is all pulled out of your employee file, out of your ERP system. Same concept when we start talking about storing purchase orders and subcontracts and receiver tickets. It's gleaning data out of the vendor file, all stored in the accounting application. And that's how we store our information, is that we pull data out of the application and fill in some other descriptive values like date, description, and things like that, and then we store the document automatically. So when I hit store, you see I entered in 2 values, I backfilled some other information, and I put that into the system as a stored document. Now, that's how I get things in. It's as simple as a drag in. I hit a couple of values that are all lookups into the application. It's integrated values. And now I've got those documents in the system that now if I ever wanted to go take a look at those, I could search them. But I could search by the department. Like if I want to say, hey, give me all my HR documents, my payroll, and my safety documents for a particular employee. So when I hit F4 and I want to go look up maybe, let's just say that Thomas Carr, for example, because I just put in a vacation request for him, I see that vacation request that was entered on 9/12. I call it up on the system, and then here it is. I've got opportunities to have instant access to files, to search through all different departments. In the newest release that we have keyword search and Google search. We also have this view, which is kind of unique to our system, is that we had a lot of people that requested the Google search, but after they started using keyword, they realized that they really just wanted their folder view. So this is another view that we can help. You can customize this or configure this based off of the user, but I can mimic my folder system to be able to access and sort my different document types. Now, this is more of an HR example, but you can imagine sorting this by project manager and then, or by project, and then underneath project giving me my different documents that I'd like to see. So this is also highly configurable. Now, this is kind of how you get things in and out. When we start talking about the components, and I alluded to this earlier, but a topic called enterprise workflow automation. What I mean by this is that now if I can actually come through here and predefine work processes. When we come into our clients, we don't dictate the work processes. We ask what the work processes are and then mold the software. So when I come through here, I can start looking at all the different departments and say, hey, look, how does the paper flow through our office? If I have a new hire, what's the work process? If I have a corrective action report, same thing. Vacation request, approved change order. If I come to this approved change order, I see that when approved change order for this particular job comes up and gets stored in the system, it's going to send it to the PVault administrator first, then to Chris, and then to Steve for final approval. This is the work process for our company, and this is how we build it inside of the system. So what this means is that just by storing a corrective action report or a vacation request or an approved change order, it's going to automatically follow those work processes. So let's take that same vacation request, for example, and I'm going to enter this in again in the same manner. And when I come through here and I hit my indexing screen, vacation request for Anderson Martin, and then it's for this Friday, I hit index, and then I'm done. I filled this document out, I stored it in the system, and now once it's in the system, it went on a smart business process rule. So I close this out, and then when I see that, I know that it's going to go to his supervisor first for approval, and then next to the payroll or next to the HR manager. So now I can see when I call up into my queue, this was routed to me first, I can see that this was from from Anderson Martin, it's a vacation request. I can see the date it was sent on. I can see any notes that were put on it, and I can see who's going to see it and who's left to see it after I see it. So these are great little tools to automate any work process and know that our employees are emulating what the corporate strategy is for how our documents move around. So that's a great advantage to paperless environments because we can mimic all your work processes but do it in a controlled and electronic form with bridging all of your documents together. So now, this is kind of one of those things that was an automatic work process tool. Some things aren't as easy as that. Some things involve a little bit of processing, involve people being in the know about the documents. So if I look at, there's some different tools that we've also written in there, because appreciate this. We may have people that may work in construction, for example, may have offices out in the job site, maybe in West Texas somewhere, and they may just have been hired off the street to come in and do some general scanning and filing at the job site. So they don't necessarily know where the documents go or who they need to, what they need to do with them, but they do need to know, hey, this is a bunch of new hires, so I send it to the new hire person who's going to be in charge of processing that. So it's in the same way that we move paper off our desk today, where we put it in the manila folder and put it on somebody's bin. I need to be able to do that within my document management system with an ease of use. So let's just say, for example, I had a bunch of new hires walk in the door, and now I'm going to actually take this new hire packet, and I want to be able to push this over to somebody who actually knows what to do with it. So I put my job site admin hat on, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to push this off of my desk, and we call this queues. I push it from my queue over to a particular processor, and I can actually set up different individuals back at corporate or back at the satellite office to be able to facilitate the processing of these documents, rather than doing them from the job site. So I could go and send this to the HR queue, or more specifically, the new hire queue. These could be job documents for a particular job that maybe I don't want my superintendent having to deal with. I want them to push it off back into corporate for storage. This is a great tool because now I can say, hey, send this to the new hires. These are new hires for the Pizza Hut job in Houston. So I want to do the entire image, and I hit OK. And that sends it, now that pushes it off of my desk as a processor, and then it pushes it over into the queue for processing back at corporate. So when corporate comes in, I go and I come through here, and I'm working through a new hire queue. I come to my new hire queue, and I see the batches that were sent to me. And here's those new hires for the Pizza Hut job. Everything's right here, and now I can process this because I know where the different documents go. So this is a very simplistic way of pushing papers around, and also pushing off of our project managers and maybe some of our elementary type users out in the field, pushing that off their responsibility more to somebody who's a little bit more familiar with where the documents go, or at least how they're stored. And once they're put in the system, they can follow the smart business processes. So again, unlimited different queues. You can set these up and set up who's going to be assigned to process them. Great little tool built into Paperless. Now, there's also other scenarios that I use that are more on the fly. Like maybe this is a safety write-up. In this safety write-up, maybe I want somebody to take a look at this document. So what I can do is, in the same way that I would actually put this in a manila folder and put a sticky note on it, I'm going to go and I'm going to say, hey, look, this is only one page, and I need to route this to a couple of people. So what this does is just like I fill out my sticky note. So I come in here and give it a test subject, safety write-up. I could have a predefined note. Maybe this is a safety issue, so it automatically fills out my note for me. I could have a predefined route, like maybe this is a safety incident, or I could route them on the fly. I want Chris to see it and then Steve to see it. I want Steve to see it first, then Chris, and then I need this routed back to me, so have it back to me by Friday. I could come in here and search out other documents pertaining to this particular employee if I wanted to, and make a document pack, return it to me when completed, and then I want it checked for approval. So when I hit route, it sends it off. They receive notification of the description that they have in their inbox, and when they come back in, they can see those documents, the things that have been routed to them along on the process. And here, when I come into my documents that I have in route, it's going to update that safety write-up. Please approve punishment and issue resolution. Here I see that my due date's on it and who's going to see it. So So great workflow tools that are built. You appreciate this. If you kind of step back and look at the way that you do business on a daily basis, there's all sorts of application with these tools that to be able to come in and approve certain things, release things, reply, recall. This is a great management tool to be able to have an internal substitute to email as far as how we pass documents around. And it's audited, obviously time and date stamped on who touched it and what they said about it. So this is kind of our PVault content management system. I'm going to jump back into this program right here and really jump back into the whole paperless concept. Is that this is really what we're trying to build to, is this concept of enterprise content management. I gave you the example of if a job were to go into litigation and you had to pull all your corporate record for a particular job, how many places would you have to go to find it? So I'm going to do that same example where I come in here and I say, give me all my documents for a particular job. So when I hit F4, this is a first integration point, but this is an integrated lookup into my job file out of my ERP system. So for Northwest Foods Warehouse, I hit search. This is every document that was tagged to that particular job file. So when I kind of come through here and scroll, I see all my accounting invoices. I see copies of emails, which is important. I'll talk about that in a second. JPEGs for job pictures, PDFs, subcontracts, original contracts, maybe the estimate. Everything in one location, and this is what we call enterprise content management, but it's getting everything back to the way it was 25 years ago where all of our information was in one location. And that's the biggest advantage, the biggest reason why you would go paperless. It's not necessarily to get the stack of paper off your desk, it's to get everybody playing ball by the same rules and having a system that can mold to your processes and facilitate that in the same breath. So when we talked about emails, emails are 50% of our corporate record, but they're also stored in PVault, a copy of the email. Well, the reason they're copies of email is that now we can actually write this little tool. Sorry about that. I can write this little tool that says, hey, look, index with PVault. It's a little button inside of my Outlook. So now I can set policies and teach my guys, hey, look, if you catch an email that's corporate record, I select it in Outlook. I hit index with PVault. It automatically launches the indexing screen in PVault, so it pulls the to, from, subject, time, and date stamp. And then me as an end user, I just select the document type and then tag it to a job or tag it to an employee or a vendor, depending on where I sit. Sometimes an email could be a response to an RFI. It could be all sorts of different document types. So I simply select the document type and tag it to the correct file to be able to file it off, or the correct data value inside of the ERP system, depending on my department. Now what this does is because it stores a copy of my email, now I just set my corporate policy. If it's corporate record, I put it in the central repository. Now you can start purging emails every 30, 60, 90 days and get rid of the chatter that gets you in trouble. So it's a great tool. In and of itself, it's just a button that doesn't do anything. But written with proper work process and proper implementation from eRisk, we can help you get a proactive handle on managing email. We hear this all the time. My guys, email's managing me, or my guys are doing their own thing with email. This gives a very corporate, top-down policy tool that we can now implement to be able to protect ownership's backside and protect against all those landmines that we may find in our email system that could bite us in the butt later on. So now we're going to jump into the paper side of things and how we get this stuff into the system. I touched on this a little bit as far as bringing things in through the scan, but this is an idea called point-of-receipt capture. That means as soon as a document comes into the door or it hits somebody from the job site or through their email system, they put it in the system or they push it to somebody else's queue for processing, because we want to get this into the system as fast as possible. And that generally brings forth a records manager position, which could be reception, could be an office manager, could be an AP processor or a departmental processor. Appreciate this. If we can adopt this policy, we eliminate lost files. No more lost files. It hits the corporate management system and then routes back out electronically, so no one is tied to the paper anymore. It's a huge advantage. From this point on, the records manager processes, and they send them on the smart business processes depending on the department. It gets processed, data entered, data stored, data matched up, documents matched up. route it around for approval or processing or work to be done, and then if it's like an invoice, for example, we hand it back off to the accounting system without any data entry. So this is kind of the way that the work process works. So let's kind of take a little bit of a visual in regards to what this looks like. And I walked you through this a little bit before, but I bring a document in. I can bring it directly from a scanner or from a place on the network. I can pull these invoices off for the particular day, or it could be a group of invoices, purchase orders, receivers. That's more an accounting example. But I bring in the documents. These could be across jobs, could be project and HR information as well. I kind of walked through this earlier, but I can delete them off the hard drive and print out a batch cover sheet. This is the last time I touched my piece of paper. So now once I've got them on my screen for processing, now we've got another unique little tool called the batch splitter. Well, if anybody has done any scanning before, they know that you've got to sit at the scanner, scan everything in one long pass, or scan everything in individually to keep them individual, or I scan everything in one pass, and it becomes one huge document file that I can't do anything with. So that's why we have to be able to or burst out the images. So my system's called batch splitter. It bursts out everything on every page and automatically assigns it to a processor, maybe records manager. With my spacebar and my arrow key, I'm sitting here going through, thumbing through the documents, and I'm saying, yes, I can read this. I don't have to know where the documents go yet. I could just need to know, hey, can I read it? I see this is a 3-page receiver ticket, so with my spacebar and arrow key, I take out the page break. So I just made that a 3-page document. This is a layer of QC that can be done from reception level, because I don't necessarily have to know where the documents go. I just need to know whether or not I can read it, and then I hand it off to an admin person for processing. So again, it can be administered as far down the channel, as down pay grade as we want it. So then obviously I can come through here. If I was in the know, I could actually come in here and distribute them to the proper departments for processing right here and there. So I had this option to assign them to those people. Now, once I've done that, you saw how I store documents in the system. I could store a PO, receiver ticket, a subcontract, insurance documents, you name it. Once they're in my system and they're ready, like let's maybe put our accounting hat on. If it's an accounts payable invoice, for example, or a subcontract for payables, our system can take over the AP function if you so choose to move this into the accounts payable, which is generally a big paper consumption. Our system it integrates with over 25 different applications on the market, and what this allows us to do, we mimic all the functionality of your accounting application, but we give you a couple of tools. It's all the header information's the same, the tabbing, everything's very heads down, line items, the distributions are all the same. But when I click Documents button down here, it automatically goes out and matches up documents that are related that were put into the system. It automatically found the field PO. It wasn't able to match the receiver ticket, but it said, hey, look, here's an unmatched receiver for that vendor, for that job. So I hit Attach, and I just made my document pack. Same thing with subcontracts. It would find the original documents, original contract, lien releases, insurance documents, so on and so forth. This is also a highly customizable field. So if you're doing government work, you have particular documents that you need to bring together to build your document pack, you can specify that down here. Very powerful tool in regards to manpower. This route button is, again, out of sight, out of mind. When I click route, we know it's automatically going to go to Project Manager 3 and then to Accounting User 2. I don't have to know that as a processor. It's out of sight, out of mind. I could add a reviewer, or I could remove a reviewer if I have proper access. It's also integrated with the application, so it reads compliance issues waived for the vendor, automobile and workers' comp. I can also, as a processor, put a note here. Hey, please approve this ASAP. This guy needs his payment by Friday. I hit save. It's time and date stamped, and then now the approvers are going to catch that whenever I just routed it out to them. Be front and center. And then now if I stop right here, my dashboard is the AP processor. If someone were to call me and say, hey, what's my status on Northwest Concrete invoice 8989, I can see whose desk it's sitting on, who's left to see it, the notes that were put on it, and any issues that arose during the approval process, so I can facilitate that vendor phone call while I've got them on the phone. Now, as I step through on the approval side, we'll put our approver hat on. When I come through, we actually wrote this software application for our guys that had never turned on a computer before. So you can kind of see it's color-coded, 6 buttons. They tell you what they do. It's red means I've got attention because of a due date's about to expire. Blue is because I've got a discount that I need to take advantage of. I can organize it based off the jobs and projects I'm working on or what I've got approved or rejected. I can burst out the lines here, and I can approve the lines. This is a commitment worksheet, so I can pull, if I'm tracking my committed cost dollars, I can see that all right here, front and center. If I wanted to view the documents, I click the Documents button, and here's everything right here. I can print this out if I want. I can call invoice information. I could call the vendor, email the AP clerk. I could reroute this to my superior or maybe somebody else that I may want to get their eyes on it. I can hold it, but if I put it on hold, it forces me to put a note and update the AP processor. Keeps everybody in the loop as far as what's going on the accounts payable side of the house. Reject it and then approve it. Now, when it comes down to actually coding, you see as I thumb through here, my lines change and what's required, my notes as well. When it comes to coding to the cost codes, these are real-time lookups. This is a real-time lookup out of the application. So if they're not set up on the front end, you got to make sure we're doing our due diligence on our cost code setup. Alerts coming out of the application, same thing. We're notifying about issues that we need resolution on. I could, if I wanted to, turn this on based off project manager to project manager, but we could give them the opportunity to redistribute the lines on their invoice. They can't edit the dollar figures, only enter in the distribution types. So we generally turn this off and ask that they'll let accounting do this, but we do give this option to certain project managers, but it's a project manager by project manager basis. And then obviously I reject it and approve it, and it goes on to the next layer of approval. Once it's done on the approval side, we do a simple export out of our system and an import into the ERP system, Sage 100, Sage 300, Computeries, Foundation, Viewpoint. We integrate with all these different applications on the market today. There's no data entry required. Like I said, it's a one-step function, pushing it out of our system and importing it directly into the ERP system. Once it's in that system, it's time to cut the checks. So what our system allows to do is that when I come in as a check signer, I hit my checkbook. I come through here, I select the bank account. I enter in a check range for this check run, and then I hit retrieve. When I hit retrieve, what this allows me to do, because it's integrated, it goes out and finds all the invoices that go towards that check, all the related documents. You can imagine if this was the last payment for a subcontractor, you'd see that original contract, lien releases, insurance documents, everything right here before you pay that subcontractor. Same thing with material invoices, sign off from the superintendent that, yeah, this stuff actually hit the job site. I can see reviewers who saw this for approval and any notes that were put on this as well. So I've got everything right here front and center to make my approval. This is a huge advantage. Appreciate this. We touched the paper a long time back. This is a completely electronic and paperless process in the accounts payable side. It's the same process in HR and all these other departments because we're touching the paper early, touching the paper as soon as it comes in, and then once it's in the system, I can access it. I can search it. Once I've got it searched, I can pass it around internally. I can email it out of the system. I can put sticky notes on it. I have all this flexibility, but it's all in electronic form. So when we start talking about going paperless, there's so much hidden value in it. But the biggest value is not just buying the tool. The tool's great in and of itself, but it's really the implementation of it. And that's kind of why whenever we start talking about what we do at eRisk, we take companies paperless because it can be a very large proposition of taking, especially multiple departments, paperless. That's why we think it's only possible with a partner that's been there, done that, and that understands the unique needs of the individuals processing papers. We have older individuals, younger individuals, people that have more tech savvy than others. We have processors that are simply walk-ups off the street that you may need to just be able to scan some documents in and push them over to somebody else for processing. Those are the types of things that we've been here, we've done that, and we've written an application that solves all these issues. So when you start talking about, I want to go paperless, take me paperless, this is what we do. We automate and emulate your corporate work processes and make your company better, faster, and smarter in regards to dealing with content. So that's all I've got for this presentation about going paperless. I hope this was informative, and definitely hope that that you guys sit in on some of our other presentations in the future. Thank you.